Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the board. As the chairman noted, my name is Patrick Kelly. I'm Director of Governmental Affairs for PSTA. I also still teach AP US Government each morning at a Midlands area high school. Thank you so much for the chance to speak with you today, as well as your continued service to the students and educators of our state. I come before you today to address an issue of critical importance, the growing strain on our educator workforce. As many of you know, I served on the state's Accelerate Ed Task Force over the summer, and in the final task force meeting, I noted that the current pandemic has served as an X-ray, revealing the strains and the breaks in our state's education system. Now, at the time, the impact of COVID was causing strains, but we hadn't reached the breaking point. But unfortunately, as the virus continues to spread and surge, I'm fearful that we're reaching the breaking point, and nowhere is that more true than when it comes to the working conditions of our state's professional educators. Educators are currently being asked to do more than ever before to achieve, quote, normal results in the midst of a pandemic, a moment that is anything but normal. We seek to return to normal in order to close student learning gaps. Gaps often measured by comparing what students are doing on tests this year in the midst of a pandemic compared to what students did in prior years when students were not experiencing a generational public health and economic crisis. To achieve this sense of normalcy, teachers have been tasked with ever-increasing duties, often being asked to serve as two teachers at the same time by instructing students in person and virtually simultaneously, something that Accelerate Ed specifically implored districts not to do. As a result, our teaching workforce is breaking in South Carolina. As Kathy shared, there's evidence of an increase in teacher resignations, and any further growth of the teacher shortage crisis in South Carolina poses a direct and sustained threat to student achievement in this state. Research consistently shows that the number one factor in school determining student achievement is the quality of the teacher in the classroom. So it stands to reason that a school that can't fill its teaching vacancies will be falling short of fully serving their students. Simply put, a school without great teachers cannot be great, and our students deserve great schools. Now, a large portion of the strain on teachers has been the result of decisions beyond the scope of this board. While some leaders in our state have criticized districts for not offering more normal instructional models, those same leaders have often failed to take the necessary steps to mitigate the spread of the virus. Steps like requiring masks in public settings, or districts not universally following Superintendent Spearman's requirement for masks in public school buildings. However, there is one important factor within the purview of this board that matters to the teaching workforce right now, and that's class size and max student loads. And we know the importance of social distancing during this pandemic, but it's something that our schools were ill-equipped to do as a result of decades of oversized classes in South Carolina. As you know, current state regs allow for 30 to 35 students in classes with higher numbers for art and PE teachers. Schools have pushed these limits for years, which made it challenging to schedule this year to accommodate social distancing. Even with hybrid scheduling, our association continues to hear from teachers unable to maintain social distancing because of class sizes of 25 or more in our current pandemic environment. While these class sizes are problematic now because of health and safety concerns, they've always been a concern for academic reasons. I teach high school seniors, and I've had years with 34 students in a single class. I've struggled to meet the academic needs of those students as I teach a class that should be rich in discussion. But discussion's hard to achieve with 34 students in 45 minutes of instructional time. The challenge is even greater at the elementary level. I simply cannot fathom how anyone can single-handedly meet the educational and academic needs of 30 to 35 elementary students in a classroom setting. But that's what we do in South Carolina, and in doing so, we've been falling short for our students. We're also falling short because of state regulations for max student loads, or in the case of virtual instruction, the absence of regulations. Currently, there is no regulation for max load for a virtual teacher, and we have heard this year from elementary teachers that have been asked to provide instruction for 60 students simultaneously in grades K through 4, as well as an art teacher who had over 300 students on her class load to start the school year. It's simply impossible to meet the needs of that many students, but teachers across the state are trying, and they're cracking under the strain. As a New York Times article noted last week, this is simply not sustainable. And as a result, we are asking this board today to revise existing regulations for class size and max student loads to establish students that better serve our students. Now, I do not make this ask lightly. I have built schoolmaster schedules, and I understand the strain of the implementation of this kind of change. I know this action is also complicated by our teacher shortage. Lower class sizes require more teachers, but teachers are in short supply, so we have the classic chicken or egg situation. Do we need more teachers so we can lower class sizes, or do we need to lower class sizes to retain and recruit more teachers? I think the answer is the second. But even if that wasn't the answer, I believe we still have to do the hard work necessary to lower class sizes and max loads for a simple reason. It's what's best for students. When we're dealing with the well-being of our students, there is no challenge so great that we should retreat from overcoming it if overcoming the challenge means better outcomes for students. When this pandemic subsides, and it will at some point, we know students will have new and greater needs than ever before. But we can only meet those needs if class sizes allow teachers to provide students with the attention and individualization that they deserve and that they need. So thank you so much for hearing my remarks and considering. Thank you for your service, and I wish you the very happiest holiday season.